Hi, welcome to the Data Board. I'm Luke Little, and today we're standing outside of the Portal building of the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and we're about to speak to Dr. Mohamed Shehab. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Hello.
All right, let's go inside. Dr. Shehab, thank you so much for joining us. We're in this fantastic facility that you invited us to, the Portal building at UNCC. How about let's start off by giving you the floor. You can introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name is Mohamed Shehab. I am a professor at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. I work as in the College of Computing and Informatics, and I focus mainly, my research is mainly in security and privacy and usable security. That's mainly my main focus in the recent couple of years. And yeah, I've been here for many years. Yeah, I started here. I moved here from Purdue. I did my PhD at Purdue and then moved here as an assistant professor and then got promoted through the ranks and so on. Yeah.
Fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit about this facility?
Yeah, so this is the Portal building. The Portal building is an incubator. It's part of UNCC and not part of UNCC. It's an incubator which hosts startup companies. And also it provides the mechanism to interact with the universities through licensing and interaction with the faculty and students. So they hire a lot of students as interns during the summer or during even the semesters. And also they collaborate with faculty on grants, on research, like several SBIRs, which is small business grants, go through this kind of interaction. Also the university licensing and university licensing offices and to market kind of idea to market kind of facilities are all hosted here in this building. So yeah, you see a lot of companies, and the companies come to be part of this ecosystem, to part of the university ecosystem, have access to university resources and have access also to faculty and students. Of course, all under the licensing umbrella of the university. Yeah.
This is a good segue for my personal connection with you. I've hired many interns, many early talent folks from UNC Charlotte, and they all have a common thread. They all talk about your course.
Yeah, so that's another. So that's one of the main focus of at least my tenure here at the university is try to create courses that are heavily relevant with the industry. You know, and I been teaching this mobile development class, and of course it was we were lucky to have it at the time when mobile was taking off. I remember in 2008 the department chair came and told me, Shehab, you have to create a mobile development class, and I'm very fortunate this happened. You know, I think he had the vision at that time. Shout out to Bill Chu. You know, he had the vision that we needed this kind of traction, and we started creating the class. And then I realized that the YouTube and the online revolution is happening at that time. You know, and so we started tipping a lot of the material and posting it, and then using the time for them to actually get more and more hands-on, and then try to align with the industry. And you have to align with the industry because this technology has been changing aggressively in the past. If you just look at your phone, how many updates you get, and every time you want to go to the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, you find that there are so many updates for the apps that you have. So the technology is changing really aggressively. So we had to catch up. And the students find that if we tell them, we are teaching you how to boil eggs. Really, you know, we're teaching you the technology, how to get things done, and we're teaching you the steps. And then we inject some innovative features that were not discussed, just to get them more experienced into searching for something and finding it. And so yeah, that's mainly the goal. I think we were fortunate to have the course at that time, and then we changed it so that it's more structured towards online. But it's not an online class; it's an face-to-face class. Of course, during the pandemic, we moved online. We also shifted both platforms, Android and iOS, so the students could see. And we invite a lot of our alumni to come and talk in the classroom, so that we could show them that there is a career that you can build by being focused into that domain. So yeah, that's mainly why. And we were very successful also in placing students in, not my class specifically, but I think the university has a very strong career center, and also the college has very strong business partners. And through them, we were able to place a lot of our students in the banking industry. For example, a lot of the students who do mobile development are from there. Also from the government, we have students who go and work there. And also the big players like Facebook, Google, Microsoft. I have a student who works on the Copilot app for Android. So yeah, you could see the. So there is this track record that's been doing this for a long time, and maybe that's why. And also we try to motivate some students, to go and get, for example, the Apple Award. I think that's the students we are.
That's a great example. Zach Wilson had the Student Swift coding challenge.
Yeah, which is pretty interesting. Even though at that time the course wasn't Swift, it was on Android, but he was very motivated, I think. And we talked a little bit during the time of the competition. But I think also the initiative. We also have amazing students. Mainly because UNC Charlotte is an access institution. And I really tell the students that what our mission is to change your life, really to change people's life, hopefully to the better, to earn a better living, have a better future, and so on. So that's basically the goal. And of course, we were helped by the industry atmosphere. The industry atmosphere is very hungry for this is the new medium of computing now, and so it helped a lot to be part of that ecosystem at this time. So yeah, so I think things aligned.
Very
and
much.
we tried. So I think, and we are continuing. There are different challenges now that we are seeing, but we are trying to adapt to change and to accommodate the new tools, the new AI stuff that is happening, and so on. So yeah, we are. So that's why. Yeah, that's mainly I think I've been here for some time, and then we also focused on an area that has high demand, and we helped a lot of students. The goal was get the skills, build the portfolio, find a job. It's mainly or go to grad school, work on. But a smaller number goes to grad school. The majority of students are going into the market. But yeah, we try. We try to create the passion and the need for moving forward, and also the need to learn. They could see that we give them, because you cannot teach people every single thing, right? You can teach them high-level topics, go deep in some, and then teach them how to go and look for other ideas. So that's what we're trying to do in these lessons. And so I'm fortunate that we were successful. But yeah, but in my research team or in my group that I work with, we have also this fellowship where the students who go into the market, they help the students who are being trained now to go and find jobs and so on. So we're trying, Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that you've made there's a clear segue here with artificial intelligence, and I think that it's a conversation that everybody's having, especially in academia. How do you approach the tooling that has come out recently? Do you train students to use the tooling? Do you discourage students from using the tooling so they have better exposure to algorithms? And it's complicated.
Again, this is my opinion, right?
Yes, of course.
It does not reflect the organization's point of view.
Absolutely.
But I think we align, myself and the organization, on the need to embrace this technology. I think the organization, the university in general, or the college, sees the need to embrace this technology. This technology is here, it's moving very fast, has to be embraced. But along the guidelines and regulations of what is acceptable use and what's not acceptable use. That's basically, I think we agree on that. My opinion is that we need to jump completely in, and try to figure out how we change our material and how we deliver our material, how to change how we evaluate the students with GPT or with this generative AI technology in the classroom. So for example, I I ask my students to use Copilot, for example, GitHub Copilot in the IDE, in the development environment, and to see how to interact with it such that it gives you some ideas, right? What I've seen that a lot of students they struggle to use it inside the development environment, but they are experts at chatting with the bot. So basically you can have it to assist you, to be an assistive tool. Or you can have it as a chat system. So we have to change how how we evaluate students. So we are trying. It's a big challenge,
Yes,
and not everybody wants to take on that challenge. I think, and also you have to be in peace with your expectations, because you are experimenting, and a lot of things you try might not end up exactly as you want them to be. For example. One option is just to do paper and pen. But how do I teach software development with just paper and pen? It's there is this disconnect. So the other extreme side is to just all ChatGPT and use the old evaluation schemes. Like old evaluation schemes, you build an app, you submit the app, we run the app, feature 1, okay, feature 2, or we run tests on the app, and it passes the tests, you get the points. But the problem is that who's getting the points? It's you or ChatGPT, right? And you have this big argument with faculty, and fortunately I teach an applied material. Even in the security stuff that I teach is heavily applied. So now I want to get the feeling that you have been part of the process of the development, and how do I evaluate that is expensive. So one option is to have an interview, 10-minute interview. We ask you, how did you do that? How did you do that? How did you do that? And that's what we are doing. Basically, we give you a set of requirements, go build an app, and then for you to get the points for it, you have to demo it, and then you have to ask some questions. We have to answer some questions around the app. So how did you build this? What were your assumptions here? How do you go from this screen to this screen? How did you send the data from here to here? How are you storing the data? Why did you structure the data this way? Basically, at least have some kind of acceptable answer to these questions, even if you use GPT to build it. But if you are able to explain and articulate the solution, that is acceptable enough for me. If you're not able to, we'll give you only half the points. And the students don't like that. But again, I am trying to survive stay relevant, in how I evaluate these students in such an environment. So even how we evaluate them in the classroom, in exams, in mobile, in development courses, I want it to be applied. Even the exams are apps that you build. So the exam, you get a list of features, build them, and you get three hours to build, and you cannot just sleep for the 3 hours and raise your hand, I have an app ready. No, we divide it into small features. You build this feature, you get checked off. So what we're trying to do is that I want to be injected in your process. And we try to create these rubrics which you build feature 1, you go to feature 2, feature 3, and you get them checked in a specific order so that we are part of the discussion. And we ask you, you can use it in the classroom, and we ask you, how did you do that, and how did you do this, and so on. So I think at least this is the challenge that I see in my class. There are other courses that are much difficult to do that, like you mentioned algorithms. But people are coming up with creative ideas on how to use it. They could use it to maybe ask GPT as a tutor. People are using it as a tutor, where you can go ask GPT, how does insertion sort work? And GPT explains it. Even you can ask Gemini, build for me a website that shows me an animation of insertion sort or something like that. So basically you can use it to create tools and demos and so on, right? So some people are very creative in how they use it, but from my perspective, that's what we have used it to do. Also, we are using it to create test cases. So we usually teach them at the end some testing frameworks. So we are trying to see how we could use it to create testing. Also, it influences how we do our research. So basically, we did some studies around students. We asked them to do a screencast of how they are using GPT, and it is really surprising, very, very surprising. These kids are amazing. GPT jumps at the answer quickly when you ask it. So these kids are they are holding the reins. So they tell GPT, when I ask you this question, I don't want you to answer. They are treating it as as their servant. Do this, and I don't want you to build the whole app. I want you to build this feature first. So basically, you could see how they are using it. Even the student says, I wrote this whole app without writing a single line of code. I technically GPT wrote most of it, and he's showing us how he's doing that. It is really eye-opening experience. So we are doing some research around that. We're also doing some research on how we can influence the recommendations that the bot is giving. For example, how we can influence the context. We're studying how, what kind of context we can include. Right now, most of these development environments, they use the project, the folder as the context. Now so what we are doing right now is we are inserting some example good use cases, best practices on building specific features as part of the project, that part that doesn't compile, and then using that to hopefully influence the context. There is also code agents that you can run locally, but again, it's difficult for us to set up a development environment for every student where they build locally with all the resources that are needed and so on. But that's at least from my perspective, I am embracing it. And I am part of this. The university has a Center for Teaching and Learning. There is an AI Institute. And the AI Institute, I was a fellow of the AI Institute a year ago. And then basically it's also was a very eye-opening experience because you want to talk to other faculty in the university, try to understand what are their needs, what are their fears, how are they embracing it, try to give them maybe tutorials on how to use it and so on. And it was it's really eye-opening because the barrier to entry is very low. It was not built for software engineers only, right, or computer scientists. Anybody can use it. So even kids, my kids use GPT in the CMS system, and there is a teacher tell them you can use it to do this specific thing. And they have been using it even before GPT became so popular. If you use Grammarly, Grammarly is very aggressive. You tell it, make it very convincing. So basically you are not writing a prompt. You just gives you some, they call them pills, these buttons at the bottom. Make it more convincing, make it more assertive. So basically it has been there for some time. The kids know how to use it. The question is how it could be integrated as a toolkit into the students, but students are using it, and the universities know, and universities are trying to figure out how they can accommodate it in an ethical way. And I think from my perspective, how you evaluate these students is the way to go, changing how you evaluate them. In a way that's acceptable, because the employers are expecting them to have this knowledge. If you just say we are a university that, if a university comes and says we are a university that doesn't use AI, and so then your graduates are not graduates that have the skills that are needed in the job market, right? So luckily in the organization here, they are embracing it heavily, and they are getting, for example, university uses Google for their email and the Google Workspace and so on. So we have Gemini access. Everybody has Gemini access through the organization, and they are getting OpenAI access also. They want the students to be ready for the market, and the challenge on the faculty is how to evaluate them, how to change your material to stay relevant. And I think a lot of faculty are on that train, and the adoption is happening. The problem is it's going to happen if you like it or if you don't like it. It is going to happen. From the security research point of view, at least my research, we have tried to use it in policy creation, especially in most of the cloud consoles. It is part of the system. You cannot even choose. If you go to the Google, for example, the Google Cloud Console or the Amazon one, you will see the chatbot on the side.
Yes.
So then they are putting it there to see what people are going to use it for, right? So for example, recently we had a collaborator. He wanted access to the Google console of the project to be able to spin off virtual machines. So basically, I could go search Google, try to figure out what role to give him as access. I chat with the bot. I chat with the bot what role I should give you, or give a person who would like to get access to this resource, and give us a list of roles. And then I ask, okay, what's the least permissive role, and then give me what's the least permissive role, and I gave him access. He tested. Oh, it doesn't work. I need this permission. Very nice. So there is a back and forth with the agent. And people are coming with very creative. Now these agents are they can execute actions. Which is crazy. From them. But yeah, that's so we are using it to generate these policies and try to give us a summary of what's your exposure. I have a student also who's working on trying to integrate it into the development environment to create more secure solutions. But yeah, people are working on all kind of aspects. I am more on the applied side of it. We have faculty who work on every single aspect you can think of. People who are training these bots, people who are using it for healthcare, people who are using it for image analysis. So you have people doing all kind of interesting stuff. And recently also we hired a lot of new faculty who are focused on AI. It's a very popular area. When you look at the number of applications for graduate school, most of the kids want to do AI.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and especially there is this perception that AI happens at the graduate level, which is not true. Now, the university here has a Bachelor of Science in AI. So basically, you have this expectation that you can. Everybody gets touched by it now. Not only computing. You look at even liberal arts. They have to figure out a way to evaluate their students, because if you ask me what happened what happened during the pandemic, right? So you can ask, you can go and read articles and so on, or you can ask GPT, write for me a couple of paragraphs about the pandemic. So basically they have to also change how. I think the problem with liberal arts is very similar to the problem that we have with software. Because in liberal arts you are building an article, but in us we are building a software, right? And how you evaluate both of them is not dissimilar, but again, the agent is very good at doing both. And people are very creative. I think the sky is the limit. I met a software firm here in Charlotte. They gave a talk here how they use AI internally, and it's crazy. They're even using it for evaluating the number of hours it would take to build a project. They have a chatbot. Yeah, they have a chatbot.
We've done this.
They've done this? Yeah. So it's very, very interesting, because always budgeting and coming up with an initial quote is difficult. People have to think about resources and so on. They use it for this. They use it also for design, initial design. I remember when I met the engineering director of the company, he had a whiteboard that wasn't facing us. It's this mobile whiteboard. So I couldn't see the back. And I was talking to him. I said, yeah. So he turned it and he said, this is what we did with our team last week. And they had drawn the layouts. This was last year. This is old news now, right? They drew the layouts, and he opened his phone, take a picture, and asked ChatGPT, build me the initial layout. So basically you have the layout built, just from a picture, at least an initial layout which you can work with. So yeah, this makes us also think, we have to think really openly, because a lot of tasks that we used to do, maybe mundane tasks that we used to do, can easily be automated, and people are trying to look for interesting ways in integrating this into their pipeline. Similarly, for academia, we are trying to include it, and people are coming with very creative ways of using it. I definitely cannot enumerate all of them, but people are very, very creative. Like we have a professor who does creates, if he's teaching students, early students or freshmen on specific software engineering topics, he takes these topics, keywords, and he asks GPT to create a crossword. And then the crossword is what is the relationship between a child and parent called in object-oriented programming, and so they have to look for this kind of keyword and so on. So basically, they look for the answer to the questions in the crossword, and the crossword is built based on the topics, and it's all done through GPT and generates the crossword and so on. So yeah, people are very creative, very creative on how they are using it, and the students, your audience, is expecting you to be ready. Be ready. The beautiful thing about teaching something that is very new is you can always say that I'm not sure. We try this, but maybe we have to check with the platform. And we had that experience with mobile because nobody knows everything, right? So basically, and the platform is changing continuously. Even the development environment, every couple of months, they push out a new development environment. Google Android Studio, every 3 months, there is a new one, new version that spins off. Similarly with Xcode, there is something that's happening every, Apple just releases new phones, you have to integrate these new emulators into the system. They have to push a new version of Xcode, So during the time from 2008, around 2008, we never claimed that we know everything. We will teach you some foundational stuff. We will go deep in some areas, and you also have to stay relevant by checking the manuals, or the online manuals. Similarly with AI, things are changing very fast. Yeah. So yeah, the academia is. At least from what I have seen, is that people are very excited, and of course there is a challenge, and a lot of people are changing how they do business such that they can adapt how they evaluate students, how they offer material in this kind of ecosystem. Yeah.
I'm curious. I have some questions that I want to dig into around how the school is preparing students to deal with data in regards to artificial intelligences. But before that, since I'm sure there are a lot of young people who are going to watch this, I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on how students themselves can prepare for this, especially given the animosity and fear and uncertainty.
Of using?
Yeah.
Yeah. Animosity against using it, or
I'm curious if you have any thoughts on specifically how students can better prepare given the fear of the job market.
Okay. When you look, at least what I have seen from the job market, is that the biggest affected sector are the early entry, the early talents, right?
Absolutely.
So now, if I am graduating now from school, I want to distinguish myself from the average early talent, right? So I'm not asking them to go to the moon and come back, right? But how you distinguish yourself is probably by projects. You have a strong portfolio. You are not coming to them expecting them to hold your hand and guide you, but you come to them, okay, this is what I have done. This is how I can add to your workforce, and this is how can I benefit the organization. So I think students, one, have a stronger portfolio. Two, communication. Very, very, very important. A lot of students are very shy, because now agents can do a lot of things.
Yes.
But they cannot be you. They still cannot be you. So there is this part where you could be an easy person to work with, a more group player. You can explain things clearly. You can present easily. I think, so yeah, I would say that just sending resumes out and waiting for things to happen is very, very hopeful, right? Yeah. But I think a lot of students now are going to meetups. I think there is a lot of legwork that has to be done at the social level, right? Because again, these bots are not socially relevant yet, right? So we could we could at least stay relevant at that stage. So for example, we have, I told you we have a startup hackathon that's going to happen in April, sponsored by the college. The ones that are running it are student organizations in the college. The college is sponsoring it, but and it has some business partners that are helping the sponsorship. But again, it's done through the students, and I think the goal is to push them to the front line. And I think also universities are changing how they do business. They have this amazing product. Why wait till the end where the students can apply to get a job and so on? No, we bring all these recruitment venues to us. Like, for example, all the banks, all the business partners. We have, I don't know exactly the number, but we have a large number of business partners. All the big players in the city, all the big players in technology are part of that. So we bring them weekly. So every week we have 2 or 3 of them are in the room. So yeah, we are trying to put the students in front of them so that they at least get used to this process. But yeah, I think the best way is to differentiate yourself, yes, through internships, if possible. If no internships, you need to figure out a project. Build something. I joke with a lot of my colleagues that my motto is build, build, build. You really have to build. Even in my class, guys, there is no hand waving. I will give you the features. You show me the features built, you get the points. No features built, no points. That's basically what is happening.
Yes.
And throughout my career, I always claim to the students that you are the one getting the points. I'm not giving you any points. But in the past 2 years, it's changing. Because in the past, there was no traction between me and them. They submit the app, we run it, they get the points. Now, it doesn't take it. You submit the app, we run it, it works. I need an extra step. So now I'm not that popular because now I'm the decider. I look at the app, or my TAs, they look at the app and yes, this works. Can you explain it to me? And then the student doesn't know or is not sure. Or we tell them, okay, where is this in the code? They don't know. So it's very obvious. If you built it, you probably will know, right? And now we are the ones that are deciding the grade. It's not only that it's running. But anyhow, I'm happy to do that. But again, I think the students need to focus on building. And universities are changing their, especially technical side of the university is changing. You could see that now universities have maker spaces. Included here, we have a lot of maker spaces on campus. We have a super fab lab. It's just a huge lab that has amazing equipment. So we are trying to push students to go into these spaces. Why? They socialize with others, that's one. A lot of them are socializing a lot there. But you get to build something. Get to build, see what are the challenges with building, and you learn from others. You go, you see somebody build something. Oh, how did you build that? You tell them, oh, I got maybe the initial design from this place, and I changed the design to match my requirements. So I think build. If somebody, so basically that really puts the student above the average early entry. Right? And a lot of talk about, yes, the senior talent is safe, even there is growth in the senior talent. But again, this can put you between, let's say, senior and the junior talent. And people could see the value. Like, for example, I think the student we were talking about earlier, when somebody talks to him, they know, this student knows how to build these apps.
Absolutely.
They know, he knows, he's not going to make it up. When you talk to him, he can open up, see this app, I built this app, right? His portfolio is live, Or a student could build an app where it's in the market and they have users in the market. It doesn't have to be that way, but at least be part of an ecosystem. A lot of the students I worked with at the university or even through consulting outside the university, they have a very strong portfolio. So when they go to an interview, they can point to things that they built, right? And a lot of them are very successful. You could see they go work for Microsoft, for Google, for Facebook, for Ford. They go work for companies that they are very successful in getting the jobs, even though they're early talent. So yeah, I would say that my advice is build, build, build. The other thing also is. The university is not going to teach you everything in the classroom. It's an ecosystem, right? Part of it is in the classroom, and there is a big part of it is outside the classroom. Being part of these student orgs is very important. Yeah, the social aspect of it, you meet people, you never know, right? You need these people, and maybe you apply for a job, somebody can refer you. Also, it teaches you about how things get done. For example, how to apply for funding for a student org, how to apply for funding from the university. There is a process, there is a deadline, there is a form you have to fill, there is maybe you have to write a proposal. So this process. Also, you meet people, you organize events. You also might talk to other people, like public speaking. 2 days ago, I was at an event. The data science had an event, and they invited 3 alumni to talk about their experience. And then one of them was asked, "What do you do outside your work to help you improve?" So one of them is like, "Oh, I take Coursera classes," and so traditional answer, right? And then another person is like, I don't remember really, but what really stuck with me is one of them said that I go and practice public speaking. Toastmasters, right? She does Toastmasters.
Yeah.
I practice public speaking. She said, one, it benefits me that I am become more more clearer in my conversation. Plus, also I can approach people easier. I have less fear speaking in public. That's one. Two, she said I meet a lot of people because they have subgroups, and she subscribed to a subgroup that is related to leadership or something, and that makes her meet people who are aspiring leaders or whatever. And it's pretty interesting. So basically, a lot of the knowledge that people learn, part of it is in the classroom, and a big portion also is outside the classroom. Also a big portion, if they leave the university with one thing that they learn how to learn, that would be amazing. We have accomplished our mission. At least in my class, we are trying to do that. We inject some things that we didn't discuss heavily, but we give you the key points, and we hopefully you can fly later on. So yeah, so that's my advice. I wouldn't tell you. I know some computer scientists had very aggressive advice to computer science students, or to students in general, that they wanted them to be more aligned with labor kind of jobs because they are not being attacked by the AI industry. But I would say that computer science is very relevant, even though there is this challenges that are happening with the job market as we speak. But I feel that, again, if somebody is relevant and stays relevant, the market is still open. Especially you have all these AI systems, somebody has to maintain them. And also the beautiful thing about computing or software engineering is maintenance, that nobody talks about. Actually, people can make fortunes just doing maintenance. You have all these legacy systems that big companies, the US government uses. And it's been years. You're looking at 20, 30 years. These legacy systems are still in place.
Same CICS.
It's not going anywhere.
Same
right?
AS400s.
Exactly, AS400s or even Windows. I was talking to somebody using Windows 3.1 or something. But anyway, so these legacy systems are there to stay. So who's going to maintain these systems? So the biggest problem with software is maintenance. I would say a lot of the consulting that we do is maintenance. I would say it's more of the dirty kind of job with software, because you are maintaining somebody else's code. You have to have a process. It's not as fancy as building new software. You have a white canvas, draw what you want to draw, or you have already a built system where you have to understand the system, understand the ins and outs, understand where the problems are. Different, much different. So I would say that computer science, with all the new innovations, yes, there is a lot of demand. There is also a lot of demand for maintenance, people who are going to maintain the current systems, or even people who are going to take the current systems and move them up, upgrade them to the next level. And we see that in mobile all the time, especially with small startups. You have startups who go to offshore, they built a proof of concept, and then they come to us like, hey, we have this proof of concept, and we cut ties with our offshore team. We want somebody to update the app, so we are doing the maintenance. So there is a lot of space there, right? So again, my advice to students is, I think the market, yes, there is a challenge right now, but to stay relevant, the colleges, for example, at least our college does invite at least three employers every week, from the big players. Attend, ask questions, I think that I send a lot of my students and tell them, make sure to ask one question, just any question, and students are like, oh, I feel my question is stupid. I tell them, nobody's question is stupid. Maybe the first couple you will not like, but you will get better. You will be watching the presentation or watching that person speak with the target that I want to ask a question. So ask a question that will benefit you. At least ask, when is your application for internships? Do you have internships? Are you hiring? At least have some presence in the room, and things will materialize. So that's one. The other thing is to stay relevant with regard to the projects. The sky is the limit. A 3D printer right now, an affordable 3D printer that you can buy with a click, just a click, costs around $300. Now, you can go and buy it from one of the stores here in Charlotte today. The sky is the limit. So bringing in a 3D printer into the mix, really the sky is the limit. You can build anything you want. Think of how you approach problems differently. I bought a 3D printer at home to motivate my kids. It's difficult, but anyway, to keep them motivated. And now I see them printing the birthday cake. What do you call it? These markers that you put on the birthday cake.
On the top.
Yeah, the top. Happy birthday with polls for their friends. So this was not possible before. At least open yourself to other experiences. The university has this. Most of the education institutions, but here they invested a lot of money in the maker spaces. You can go to a maker space, 3D print something, you don't have to pay anything.
I've seen the one in Atkins.
There is one in Atkins, there is one in the computing, maybe I forget some other one. There is a very big one in the School of Architecture, and there is a huge one in front of the portal in the Kennedy. If you, this is the Super Fab Lab, it's huge. If I would consider going, if you are in Charlotte, let me know. I'll take you to it. It's amazing.
I would
they have
love
like
to see that.
a wall of 3D printers, and they have CNC machines. It opens up your perception. What you can do, what's possible. Even you look at the material. How can I 3D print this or no? I didn't know. I was printing something, a hanger for inside my car, a small hanger. I can print it. Why not? So I printed it, and then they told me, this will not support the heat in the summer; it will melt. So I didn't know that, but I know it now. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that it really opens up your perspective. And when a company interviews a student and they see that this student has a very wide perspective, yes, they are experienced in a specific topic, but they have a wide perspective. This opens up things. If not, why not the students have startups? So we are trying to do that in the college as we speak. Introduce entrepreneurship in the coursework, have some entrepreneurship events, because you could see all of the money is in AI. Everything is not in history. It's not in other topics. It's all the money is pumped into AI. If you look at also in the infrastructure for AI, so AI is not just the ChatGPT. There is a whole set of tools and areas that are subject to that. You have infrastructure. OpenAI just signed a deal with Oracle, $500 billion for the next 5 years. Only time on their servers. It's shocking, right? So basically there is a lot of money in that area. Be experienced in something in that framework. You don't have to be, if you are not happy with AI or you are not happy with machine learning, there are other things. There are layers that you can be part of. You can also focus on the usability, because again, these AI tools are built for users. And you can see, look at how Google is changing, how its search results are being displayed, how OpenAI is changing, how it responds to you when you type. Gemini, how you can look at, for example, their new models. So you can be experienced in one thing, but be good at it, and have some projects to show that you are relevant. And we did that with mobile, but I think it's time to do it on steroids for everything else. Again, the college is trying, because again, we want to be not only us, but also our students to be relevant. So with the hackathons, and I think with a lot of the senior projects targeting topics, we used to do a lot of company-focused senior projects before the pandemic. I think this is coming back, so that it becomes more and more relevant. So yeah, I know it's easily said, and it needs a lot of effort, because most of the thing that is going to make you appealing, part of it, yes, is in the classroom. If we just make it fair, let's 50% of it in the classroom. The other 50% is something that you are not graded on. It's something you have to go out of your time, but you paid for it already. You paid for the maker spaces, so use them. Yeah, that's. I know it's easily said, but I know it's difficult to do. And I see that also with my, not only my students, but also my kids, the young kids in the CMS system, and I can see how it's hard to motivate them. But the best way is to, like, for example, you want to set up lights in this room, right? So you ask students, how do you set up lights in the room? They go search Google. Fine, search Google. Anybody gives you information about how to set up lights in the room, and search Google. It shows you this is a new way of learning. Right? They go watch a YouTube video, and one of our biggest partners, Lowe's, probably most of our customers are coming through YouTube. They watch how to build something, and they go, and this is the parts list. You go to Lowe's and get the part list. And you could see a lot of these big companies are partnering with influencers, builders, or DIY influencers to push their products through them. So basically, the way we learn is changing, and a lot of it happens outside the classroom. And universities are trying. I remember a couple of years ago, our dean, she was considering giving credit to students who were student organization students who were tutoring other students. It didn't materialize. Maybe we get back to it. But this was an idea to motivate this kind of, if they probably can teach something, they would probably know it better, and they learn it better because they have to learn it better in order to teach it. So yeah, outside the classroom, I think a lot of things happen outside the classroom that students are, and our students are amazing. I'm part of a student org called App Ventures, and that's mainly to the marriage between applications and entrepreneurship. We are trying to bring it back to life. During the pandemic, things slowed down a little bit, but yeah, you could see students are amazing. And again, we are focusing on the soft side of technology, and so on. Yeah.
As partners, of course, we, I work for a professional services firm. And of course, when I met you, I worked for a bank. I'm very invested in the Charlotte tech scene, and I think a common thread with all this season's episodes is the Charlotte tech pipeline and how it's really developed over the past 2 decades. And my own personal success is a product of that. How can we be better partners?
So as we are talent generation kind, or talent provisioning kind of service, right? So we have students come out and they work in the industry. When we met at Ally, right? Or financial industry, I don't know if you can say the name. So, and my goal was going there is just to hear from the industry partners and try to understand what are their needs, So yeah, more of this, right? And more of this kind of interaction. I think also more on the joint projects between the industry and academia, and that we are trying to push this heavily with a lot of partnerships that we're trying to build and built so far. That's another thing. The other thing also is I try to host a lot of the events here on campus so that the students can get exposed to this kind of ecosystem. Because again, when you look at technology itself, at the end of the day, when you are in a financial institution, it's like a commodity, right? So basically, how many software developers we need to build this table, right? So basically, and it becomes like a commodity. And the students have to realize that, how they stay relevant in that ecosystem also, right? So we take them to some events where startup founders come and they are asking for specific talents. So they talk, I'm looking for somebody with these talents. And then the students come also and present what they are good at. So both sides are selling their perspective. I think more of that. There is a lot of new startups in Charlotte, and there are these VC firms here in Charlotte, and we have like the portal. There is another branch to the portal or similar branch called the CoLab. It's in front of the Center City campus for the university, and that is also has a VC company inside the organization, and they have a lot of events and so on to expose the students there. But I think one is this. The other thing also is colleges are thinking about partnering with technology organizations or companies to create focused talent pipeline, where the organization has a say in the curriculum itself. And this it is being considered as we speak mainly for certificates, to create certificates. For example, let's say containerization certificates, or let's say visualization certificate, or AI certificates. Create certificates that are not just certificates for the traditional student, but are certificates that are targeted for either the employees of the organization or potential employees that can feed into the pipeline. Again, I think the problem is that also a lot of the academics are very traditional. Teach your class, do your research, go home, right? It takes also a lot of change in the culture of universities to expose the faculty to the industry, and then find a way to integrate them into the industry. And we are working on that. We have some faculty who are really amazing, who are already super at these kind of relationships. And we are trying to expose the other faculty or other faculty who have this potential to this. So that would also boost. Also, state schools in general have some runway in regard to commercialization. So you have all these amazing ideas, right? And they are either trying to patent the ideas, but then in addition to patenting it, how to license it. So basically how to find the right person and convince them that this technology is going to make a difference in their business. And the university is trying to work on that, and not only us, but I think state schools are trying to aggressively pursue this, because they are sitting on a gold mine, all these licenses that are possible. So yeah, but again, in the short term, I think more collaboration with events, organizing events, like for example, the Google developer community in Charlotte. I'm part of that, and I invite them to do their meetups, Google meetups, at least once in the fall and once in the spring. So there is something going to happen very soon, and we did that last year and the year before. And that's also an eye-opening experience, because the technology is changing very fast. So just Google coming and demoing, these are the new tools that we have in our studio is amazing. We're talking to other partners. But yeah, I see there's a lot of talent here. The question is, like, you have a lot of oil in the ground, but you don't know how to get it out, right? Yes. So this is very exactly the same. You have a lot of talent here, students, faculty, and so on, and you have a lot of hungry need outside. Now, how do you marry them together in a way where both of them can be relevant, right? Like, I was just talking to somebody today. He's talking about, he has this app idea. It's very nice. I can hook you up with some amazing students that can help you build the app. But then you have to find a way to make this happen, right? If it's a very small startup, they don't have funds to pay the students, then how do they get stake in the company? But again, maybe the students don't want. They have to, plus also when the company is not paying them, they assume it's a very low overhead. They don't want to invest time, because that time is the money part here. So basically they don't invest time in that relationship. And they are assuming that the student is very creative, they're going to come up with everything. But both of them are in this to gain something, right? So I think, again, there has to be some kind of catalyst that connects the two and makes this happen. We are trying through maybe the company relationships, senior projects, but there is more that can be done, much more. And again, it depends. If you want to get exposed to this, you have to be in areas where you get exposed to it. Like, you have to go to the maker spaces, you have to go to the fab labs, you have to go to the Charlotte, let's say, IoT meetup, or the Charlotte Cloud meetup. You'll meet people who have pain points, or who are looking for people who can help in these pain points. Maybe the top executives don't know these pain points, and they know that, hey, I have this X dollars that I have to spend by the end of the year, but the people who are on the ground know the pain points and know the value of these projects. And a lot of these projects are very simple from the technological point of view, but they have potential to enhance the organization. So yeah, I would say more engagement. We are trying. I'm trying to not only me, but there's a lot of people in the college that are trying, or at the university even level are trying. The business school is very active. But from the technology point of view, we are trying to engage our partners and to build more partnerships if possible also. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for inviting us to this beautiful facility and for sharing so much insight and wisdom. And I really appreciate you having us here today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I appreciate, and it's what a testament to this is we met at one of these events.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming, and my pleasure meeting you and your team.
So until next time, let's toast to knowledge and connection, one episode at a time.